Welcome to tip number 6. Okay, and in this tip, we're going to take a look at genetic traits. Specifically, why is it that some people are warriors and some people are crybabies? Okay, so there is 4 things you want to take a look at. Okay, and that is genetic traits. Okay, if they have a stress system in place, if they're introverted or extroverted, and their personal habits. So genetic traits. Okay, so genetics is a really big thing. Okay, some people, you can say, oh, his dad was like that, or his parents were like that, whatever, his grandpa was like that. Like, you hear things like that, coming up all the time. And this is why it's important to take a look at your family, your immediate family and your extended family, if you're somehow related, and see if there is some kind of traits that they have that you also have, or your grandparents and so on had, that maybe just carried on genetically inside of you. Because that may help you to say, oh, okay, well, if my grandpa was stressed out when he used to work in a high demanding jobs, then maybe that's partially genetic, or maybe he just didn't have the tools how to deal with it, or something that you have to decipher it based on information you have. Okay, and one point I want to make clear in this section is some people genetically are born and they can handle a lot more stress than other people, and some people just feel more with their bodies. So, and some people feel less. One time, if you know about Dave Canterbury, he used to do dual survival on Discovery Channel. Okay, and that guy, I think actually the first episode that opens, and there is him and Cody, and Dave is actually cutting his own hand, and then Cody putting fresh gunpowder and lighting it up on top of his head, and then they go. And the thing is, Dave later on admitted himself that he has a higher pain threshold than most people do. Okay, so that's a genetic trait, okay, that he knows about. And the second thing, guys, that you wanna try to figure out is when you were in the in the womb, so to speak, when you were still your mom was still pregnant with you. Try to find out if she was stressed or not stressed during her time while you were inside her. Because based on Dr. Wilson's book, the 21st century stress syndrome, he says that babies of stressed mothers are more prone to adrenal fatigue throughout their lives after they're born. So it wasn't even your fault, you were just a little thing inside, little baby, already have a problem dealing with stress. It's like, what is what is that all about? But that's why you gotta take a look, at your genetics. Okay, so the second point is, have you ever wondered why when you look around, especially people on a management positions that seems to have the ability not to only manage themselves, but manage other people, and then they don't get too freaked out. And it's like, oh, what's going on there? And I bet you that what happened is somehow they have developed their own stress management system. Okay, now they may not be aware of it consciously. Some may be, but some may not be. They just may have selected certain activities to put in their daily routine or weekly routine that relaxes them and balances them out, so that when they go back to work, they feel fine. So for instance, there is one guy that I used to work with, and his name was Dwayne. He's a great guy, and he was director of sales, and he was very professional. But one of the things I noticed with him is every time he would come to work, is he would be carrying his workout bag in front of him, and there'll be a towel on top of it. Now, as I know that he used to work out, and I know he used to work out either in the morning or in the afternoon, and that will depend on his schedule, because his work schedule was a little bit different. But from my understanding, that he was working out in the morning primarily, and he would bring the towel to dry it off, and then just put the bag, at the back, whatever. And at the same time, later on, I found out that he was playing soccer 1 or 2 twice a week with his friends. I was like, well, that's interesting. And then the other thing I found out is he was part of some social clubs that had to do with either personal growth or business development in his own niche market industry that he was in. So it seemed like, and he had a family and kids and so on. But what I found out later is he actually had developed his own stress management system, but he didn't call it like that. And he was like one of the calmest guys you can talk to, and he was always on point, and it didn't feel like he gets stressed, but even though he did have a system for it. Okay, so what I urge you guys to do as an assignment for this, if you ever meet people like that, or you seem to have met people like that, if you seem to have, if these people are in your, so to speak, environment, go and ask them. Just ask them, excuse me, you seem to be really calm, when you're doing your job and, on daily basis. Are you doing something special? Do you have a stress management system? Ask that question. And the more people you can ask, the better answers you'll get. Okay? I'll give you one more example. Is I had one woman who I knew, and she was like just an office worker, receptionist / maybe accountant, and later on I found out that she was actually a yoga teacher part-time. So not only was she relaxing, she was making money at the same time. And I realized that was her key, that was her thing was yoga. Okay, so find your thing. That maybe it's one thing or combination of things like Dwayne had, but it gets you in order. Okay. Number 3 is you gotta find out if you're more introverted or extroverted. Now this is more like a scale, because I know that there is some ambiverts, the people that can adjust based on a situation, and they can be extroverted in one situation but more introverted later on. So there's people that can adjust in between, but usually people would fit into one major category or more towards one extroversion or introversion. Okay, so for instance, I'm an introvert, and introverts prefer quiet time, more time alone, and less stimulation, and that's true for me. But also, sometimes I do like to have more stimulation. Okay, and extroverts, they tend to have their brains tend to seek more stimulation, just because they feel like they're not alive, so they feel like when they get more stimulation, they're more alive. And the reason I'm saying is you got to find out, and you can take a test. I'm going to link down some websites or tests that I took in the past that you can take to find out which one are you, or how much are you on this scale. Okay, because it may not be as black and white. Okay, and the key for this is, because if you're gonna be planning something to go somewhere, and you're like, no, okay, it's gonna if I go to, let's say, a party with a lot of people, and there's gonna be dancing, and then there's gonna be food, and there is some kind of presentation, whatever, you'll get tired, whatever. So you might not, do I go there? Do I don't go there? You know, it may be simple, but what if you have a number of events in order? Do you pick all the events? Like, it's simple when there is one, but it gets more complex if you have like a schedule you gotta meet. Okay, so find that out and know it for yourself and trust yourself with it. Okay, you can either avoid yourself, or you can make a habit that's more productive and makes you feel good. So an example of a habit that's productive and makes you feel good is cleaning up your house or your place of apartment, whatever that is. And my brother, he knew one lady that would actually wake up every single morning, and she would clean up a portion of the house before she went to do her job. And so every day that she would wake up, Monday to Friday, she would clean up more. And then when the weekend came, she would also clean up. But the interesting thing is, she'll feel so good because the house is almost clean, because she cleaned pretty much the whole thing during the week, and there's only a small amount left to clean on the weekend. And the benefit she was getting, not only was she getting busy in doing so, it was a habit that she was doing every single day, and the house was clean all the time. So anybody that comes understand that she is a good lady that has a very nice house. Okay, so that's one example of it. Another example of it is what can happen is, you may have, as I mentioned in tip number 4, I believe, that to pick something that you like and do. Sometimes it may evolve to become a habit. Okay, so whatever you pick, it may be temporary, or it may go long term and actually may become a part of your life, a part of your habit. So in that example, as it became a part of your habit, I'm going to give you a real example of a guy, one of my friends. His name is Zach, and he had a problem before, because he went to university and he began studying mathematics, but he found out that it wasn't his thing. So, he really got, sidetracked and got bad grades and so on. And he was really down and worried a lot. And so one of the things that a couple of his friends were doing is, he had a couple of people who were involved in building the race car for that university's team. Okay. And he said, well, let me join. So he joined the team, and that race car team, and he started working on the car. And so the working on the car became his habit, because he wasn't doing only a month or 2 months, he was doing it for years. And I remember I used to call him Monday evening or Saturday night, like at 8 p.m., and he would be in a workshop working on a race car. I'm like, how crazy is that? But because it was a habit, and he couldn't like he would go to school, or and he would naturally then go, oh, that's the next step. Like it's like if you drive from work and you used to go to, let's say, a restaurant to buy food, and you always go that way. Well, you naturally may go to a restaurant even though you weren't really planning. So it became really a habit for him, more so. And basically that habit later on actually gave him an internship, and later on it actually gave him a job. So it's a powerful thing if you can develop something like that. And it can be a positive thing, and it also can be a negative thing, where you can do a habit that basically makes you worry all the time. Okay, and actually the worrying itself that I mentioned before is a habit if you do it all the time. Like it's maybe a personality trait that you have that goes back to genetic, but it's actually a habit that's genetic, that you have, like your genetics predispose you to something, and then because you're naturally more susceptible to thinking a lot, you become worried, and then that worry became a habit, which is reinforced back to your personality. Okay, so for this section, guys, what you need to do is differentiate. Take a look, okay, what things you believe are possibly genetic and the things that you think are possibly created by yourself. Okay, and if you can separate those two, then you can relax more if they're genetic, because it's not really your fault. You just gotta find a better way to deal with it. Okay, so guys, that's it for this tip, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.